Stand anywhere along the Seine in Paris today, and you are looking at the accumulated result of more than 2,000 years of continuous urban occupation. As we peel back the layers of time, the city disappears. First modern Paris, then the Roman city once called Lutetia, until nothing remains but open land shaped by hills, forests, and the river long before history was written here. Centuries before the Romans arrived, this stretch of the Seine was controlled by a Celtic tribe known as the Parisii. They weren't building monuments or walls, but they were doing something just as important: trading. By positioning themselves at one of the river's most reliable crossing points, they turned trade into power. When Julius Caesar marched through Gaul in the 1st century BC, the Parisii resisted, burning bridges along the Seine to slow his advance. Paris begins not as a capital, but as a strategic choke point, a place where geography quietly shaped history long before anyone called it a city. After the conquest of Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars, the Romans absorbed the settlement and rename it Lutetia. Crucially, Lutetia is not founded as a military colony. There is no permanent legion, no massive fortress, no imperial palace. Lutetia develops as a civilian administrative town, serving the surrounding agricultural region of northern Gaul. Roman Lutetia expands primarily onto the left bank. This is where the Romans build a forum, public bath complexes, a theater, straight roads aligned to Roman surveying logic. If you walk today through the Latin Quarter, the streets sit directly on top of this Roman skeleton. If you were to stand today in front of the Pantheon on Rue Soufflot, between Rue Saint-Jacques and Boulevard Saint-Michel, you would be standing at the former site of the Roman Forum of Lutetia. The geometry of this space still shapes the neighborhood today, even though the Forum itself is gone. Paris did not move on from Roman Lutetia. It built directly on top of it. The most visible surviving structure is the Thermes de Cluny, built in the late 1st or early 2nd century AD. These baths were not marginal. They were monumental, heated, and socially central, signaling that Lutetia had achieved full Roman urban status. Also surviving are the ruins of the amphitheater, later buried by the city for centuries. It was rediscovered in the 1860s, excavated and turned into a public square by 1896. At its height in the 2nd century, Lutetia likely housed 10,000 to 15,000 inhabitants. That made it smaller than Londinium, far smaller than Lyon, but stable, prosperous, and well integrated into Roman Gaul. For nearly 200 years, Roman Paris is quiet, unharmed. This matters because it allows something rare in ancient cities: continuity. In the mid-3rd century, the Roman Empire enters a period of collapse. Civil wars, inflation, Germanic incursions into Gaul. Paris is not sacked, but it reacts decisively. The population abandons much of the left bank. Stone from public buildings is dismantled and reused. The city contracts back to the island. This is when Ile de la Cité becomes permanently central. A defensive wall is constructed around the island. Bridges are fortified, access is controlled. By this point, Lutetia is no longer really Lutetia. The Roman name is fading from use, replaced simply by Paris, a reference to the Parisii who first settled the island. In 360 AD, the troops of Julian the Apostate, frustrated with the distant authority of Emperor Constantius II, proclaim Julian Emperor here in Paris, not in Rome, not in Constantinople, but in this quiet provincial city on the Seine. Within decades, Roman authority in Gaul begins to collapse. Across the region, cities are abandoned as administration and armies withdraw. Yet Paris endures. As rumors spread that Attila the Hun is advancing toward Paris, a young, pious woman, Genevieve, persuades the city's inhabitants to remain. The city does not flee and is miraculously spared. By the late 5th century, Paris passes into Frankish control, and soon after Clovis I makes it his capital. The Roman period ends, but the city does not reset. Roman roads still guide movement. The island remains the core. The urban framework survives. Modern Paris rests atop Roman Luteicia and its story. That continuity is the foundation on which the modern city still stands.